Imagine a life where every corner of your home reflects who you truly are. A space that breathes freedom and inspires personal growth. Living alone as an older man can offer this unique experience, something far beyond just peace and quiet. It's about embracing a lifestyle that allows us to pursue our passions, explore new interests, and find joy in the simplicity of having a sanctuary that is entirely our own. This stage of life isn't merely about solitude, it's a blank canvas, waiting for us to paint with the vibrant colors of our dreams and aspirations. Many of us have walked this path, spending years in the company of our thoughts, learning from each moment of solitude. The insights and wisdom gained from living alone are treasures that transform our lives in ways we might never have expected. Today, we're not here to just go through a checklist of benefits. We're diving deeper into the emotional and practical rewards that come with solo living. It's about finding a new sense of self, realizing the power of being comfortable in our own space, and embracing the incredible freedom that comes with making decisions solely for ourselves. And here's the beauty of this journey. It's not just ours. There are countless stories shared in online communities and forums where others like us have found strength, peace, and joy in living alone. We're drawing on these real experiences to show how enriching and transformative this chapter of life can be. So whether you're already on this path or considering it, stick around. This could become one of the most fulfilling chapters of our lives, filled with unexpected joys, personal growth, and a newfound sense of independence. Let's explore what this journey could mean for us. First of all, let's talk about the freedom to be yourself. You see, when we talk about living alone, especially as an older man, it's not just about the solitude. It's about the freedom that solitude brings. The freedom to shape your life exactly the way you want it. Imagine waking up each morning and knowing that the day is entirely yours to mold. There's no one else setting expectations, no one else dictating how things should be done. And that, in itself, is a rare gift. Now, think about this. How many times have we found ourselves adjusting our routines, compromising on little things just to accommodate others? When we live alone, all of that changes. We gain the power to make decisions that truly reflect our desires, from the food we eat to the activities we engage in. We get to be in complete control of our own time. The idea of freedom becomes more than just a concept. It becomes a lived reality, something we embrace with each passing day. Consider those quiet mornings when you're not rushing for anyone. You can wake up at dawn or sleep in until noon, if that's what suits you. And there's no rush to get dressed unless you feel like it. Maybe you prefer to make a leisurely breakfast, trying out new recipes that would otherwise go unnoticed. Or perhaps you simply want to sip your coffee while reading the newspaper, taking your time without any interruptions. This kind of freedom, this sense of owning your mornings, sets a tone for the entire day, a tone that is calming, peaceful, and entirely yours to enjoy. Then there's the space to rediscover your passions. We often hear stories about men who, after years of living with others, finally find the time to pick up a hobby they left behind. Maybe it's woodworking, painting, or playing an instrument. When you live alone, you have the freedom to dive deep into these interests without worrying about disturbing someone else. Picture setting up a small art studio in your living room, spreading out your supplies and creating whenever inspiration strikes, even if it's late into the night. That's something not easily done in a shared living environment and our personal spaces. When you live alone, every corner of your home becomes a reflection of you. There's no need to compromise on decor, no need to negotiate on how to use a room. You get to turn each space into whatever you want it to be. If the dining room feels more suitable as a library, so be it. If the living room serves better as a makeshift gym or an art studio, it's yours to transform. This freedom to design your environment fosters a sense of ownership and creativity that is deeply satisfying. And this creativity extends to how we structure our days. We can choose to spend hours on something without a single concern about what others might think. Maybe you want to spend the entire morning gardening, or perhaps you prefer to indulge in watching documentaries all day. There's no one to interrupt your flow, no one to ask why you're doing what you're doing. This kind of uninterrupted focus allows us to get lost in our activities in a way that feels both refreshing and fulfilling. Now let's bring in a real example. We knew a man in his early 60s who shared his experience of living alone after a long period of shared living. He had always loved painting, but never had the space or time to explore it fully. Once he began living alone, he set up a small studio right in his living room. He would often paint late into the night, surrounded by the quiet of his home, with no worries about waking anyone up. His most creative hours became his own to cherish, leading to a newfound sense of joy and accomplishment. This kind of experience illustrates the profound fulfillment that comes with the freedom to pursue one's passions. Another aspect of this freedom is being able to create our own routines. We get to decide when and how we spend our time, whether it's exercising in the middle of the day, taking afternoon naps, or cooking dinner at midnight. There's no set schedule imposed on us by others. We find ourselves creating a rhythm that aligns with our personal preferences, a rhythm that energizes rather than exhausts us. It's in this rhythm that we find a sense of balance and satisfaction. Living alone means we don't have to explain our choices. If we decide to skip cleaning for a day or two, it's perfectly okay. If we want to spend an entire weekend watching movies or experimenting with a new recipe, there's no judgment. It's our space and our rules. This kind of autonomy leads to a deeper self-acceptance, allowing us to explore who we are without the pressure of others' opinions. When we live alone, we also have the opportunity to listen to our own thoughts more clearly. Without the noise of others around us, we become more in tune with our inner voice. This solitude helps us to reconnect with ourselves, to understand what we truly want out of life, and to pursue it wholeheartedly. This process of self-discovery is not just fulfilling, it's empowering. And let's not forget about the small pleasures that come with this freedom. Think about being able to watch your favorite TV show at any volume, trying out a new hobby in the middle of the night, or cooking exactly what you crave without having to consider anyone else's tastes. These seemingly minor joys add up, creating an environment where we feel completely at ease and in control. But there's also the freedom to indulge in simplicity. Living alone means we can simplify our lives in ways that suit us best. We can minimize clutter, focus on what we truly need, and let go of things that no longer serve us. This simplicity brings a sense of peace and contentment that is hard to achieve in a shared space. The freedom to be ourselves allows us to nurture a deeper connection with our own lives. We begin to appreciate our own company, finding comfort in the quiet moments. We learn to enjoy our own presence, realizing that solitude can be not just peaceful, but also profoundly enriching. In living alone, we uncover the joy of being truly at home with ourselves. The number 2 we want to share with you today is the profound gift of peace and quiet. Now, when we think about the idea of tranquility, many older men recognize it as one of the greatest joys that come with living alone. After decades spent raising families, managing careers, and balancing a myriad of responsibilities, the calmness that envelops a solo lifestyle can feel like a long-awaited breath of fresh air. It's a chance to step back, to breathe deeply, and to appreciate the stillness that surrounds us without the usual distractions and demands of a bustling household. Imagine waking up to a morning that's completely yours. There's no chaos, no rush, no one calling out for your attention. The peace becomes almost tangible, like a gentle embrace that greets you as soon as you open your eyes. You take your time, slowly getting out of bed, feeling no urgency other than what you set for yourself. As you make that first cup of coffee, you listen, not to conversations or the sounds of a busy house, but to the soft murmurs of the world outside. Birds singing, leaves rustling, maybe even the distant hum of life moving at its own pace. This quiet becomes your sanctuary, a place where your mind can rest and your spirit can find solace. But peace and quiet aren't merely about the absence of sound. They're about the presence of something deeper, a sense of ease, a calmness that fills the room and wraps itself around you. It's an atmosphere where your thoughts can settle like still water, undisturbed by the constant ripples of everyday life. This kind of tranquility allows you to sink into reflection, to think more clearly, and to connect with your innermost self. It's in these quiet spaces that we often find answers to questions we've been carrying, or perhaps simply the comfort of knowing we don't need all the answers at once. When we live alone, we gain the freedom to create a space that truly mirrors our needs and desires. We shape our environment to be exactly what we want it to be, a place of warmth, comfort, and personal expression. Maybe it's a small reading nook filled with books that inspire you. Or perhaps a balcony where you can watch the sunrise with your morning coffee. In this space, you're free to let the peace settle into every corner, turning your home into a sanctuary where you can unwind and recharge. This kind of tranquility does wonders for our mental well-being. When life around us quiets down, we start to hear our own thoughts more clearly. We become more in tune with our own feelings, our needs, and even the whispers of our own intuition. It's like we've turned down the volume on the world, making room for our inner voice to speak. In this peaceful state, our minds can finally rest, shedding the layers of stress that build up over time. We feel lighter, calmer, and more present in each moment. Imagine those early mornings that are all yours. No obligations pulling at you, no noise to break the stillness. You can sit by the window, feeling the warmth of the morning sun on your face, watching as the day unfolds slowly. These moments of quiet solitude allow you to start the day with a clear mind and a peaceful heart. There's something truly magical about sipping your coffee in this stillness, knowing that you have nowhere to be and nothing to do but simply be present. Solitude provides us with a rare opportunity for deep reflection. In the busyness of life, we often overlook the importance of sitting with our thoughts, of revisiting past experiences, and making sense of our journey. This reflection isn't about dwelling on what's behind us, but rather about honoring the path we've walked and finding meaning in where we are now. In these moments, we gain clarity about what truly matters to us and what direction we want our lives to take. Peace and quiet also give us the time to engage in activities that bring us joy and relaxation. Without interruptions or the constant hum of a full house, we can immerse ourselves in hobbies that we love. Whether it's gardening, painting, reading, or simply enjoying the silence with a cup of tea, these activities become ways of nurturing our soul. They remind us that life is filled with simple pleasures if we slow down long enough to notice them. Now, some might worry that too much silence could lead to loneliness, but we see it differently. When we embrace solitude as an opportunity to reconnect with ourselves, it becomes a source of strength, not a void to fill. In the quiet, we come to realize that we're never truly alone. Our thoughts, our memories, and our dreams all keep us company. The stillness becomes a comforting friend, offering us space to breathe, to think, and to simply be. In this quiet time, we also develop a heightened awareness of our own well-being. We start listening to our bodies and our minds in ways we might not have before. We notice when we're feeling tired, when we need to rest, or when we crave a bit of excitement. This kind of self-care becomes a natural part of our daily routine, helping us to stay balanced and centered. Imagine ending your day in peace, just as you began it. You settle into your favorite chair, perhaps with a good book or some calming music. The room around you is filled with a gentle quiet, a quiet that feels warm and safe. There's no rush, no schedule, only the soft embrace of the evening stillness. This is the beauty of living alone, the freedom to shape each day, each moment, in a way that nourishes your heart and mind. This tranquility also opens up space for gratitude. In the stillness, we have the time to appreciate the small details of our lives, the comfort of our home, the beauty of a sunrise, the joy of simply being. Gratitude becomes a natural response to the peace that fills our days, reminding us of the many blessings we have, even in the quiet moments. Over time, this peace and quiet bring about a deeper sense of contentment. We become more mindful of how we spend our time and who we spend it with. We learn to cherish our solitude, to see it not as a lack, but as a gift. This tranquility is not about isolating ourselves from the world, but rather about creating a balance that allows us to engage with life more fully and thoughtfully. So, when we embrace the quiet of living alone, we're not retreating, we're discovering. We're creating a space where our minds can rest, where our hearts can heal, and where our spirits can thrive. This peace is not just an absence of noise, but a presence of something far greater. The calm that comes from being truly in tune with ourselves. Can you guess the number 3? Yes, that's right. Personal growth and self-discovery. Now let's take a moment to explore why living alone as an older man can be one of the most transformative experiences of your life. You see, it's not just about solitude or freedom. It's about the unique opportunity to dive into the depths of who you truly are. When the constant noise of daily obligations quiets down, we find ourselves standing face to face with our own thoughts, our desires, and our deeper longings. It's as if, in the silence of an empty home, we finally hear our own voice clearly. Now picture this. You've spent years, maybe decades, fulfilling roles for others: provider, worker, partner, or father. Each role came with its set of expectations, and often our own needs and desires were pushed aside to meet them. When you live alone, especially at an older age, you're granted the rare gift of time and space to explore these forgotten aspects of yourself. It's like walking through a familiar yet strangely new landscape, rediscovering parts of you that were buried under layers of responsibility and routine. In those quiet mornings with a cup of coffee, or during peaceful evenings with a good book, something begins to happen. Personal growth sneaks in, not as a grand, life-altering revelation, but as a series of small, profound moments. These moments encourage you to reflect, to look inward, and to ask yourself questions that have long been ignored. Who am I now, outside of my roles? What truly brings me joy? What do I want to achieve in this phase of my life? One of the most profound aspects of living alone is the opportunity for self-reflection. In the company of others, we're often too distracted to engage in deep introspection. We react to the world around us, sometimes losing track of what we genuinely think or feel. When we're alone, however, the mirror of our thoughts reflects back at us. We start to see patterns in our behavior, identify past regrets, and most importantly, recognize the dreams we've set aside. Think of it as cultivating a garden. For years, perhaps, you've allowed others to plant flowers in your garden, some beautiful, some not quite to your taste. But now, it's your turn. You get to weed out what doesn't belong and plant the seeds of the life you want to nurture. It might be the seed of a new hobby you always wanted to try, a passion you've neglected, or simply the joy of spending time with yourself without any outside judgment. Consider the story of a man named Victor. In his late 50s, he found himself living alone after a long career and a marriage that ended unexpectedly. Moving into a small, quiet cabin by the lake, he felt lost at first, unsure of what to do with the silence. But slowly, the solitude began to work its magic. He picked up an old journal, something he hadn't touched in years, and began writing his thoughts. Words flowed, revealing not just daily musings, but also dreams and passions he had set aside in the busyness of life. Through journaling, Victor discovered his love for philosophy, a subject he had always been curious about but never had the time to explore. He began to read, ponder, and meditate on these philosophical ideas. The quiet of his cabin became a sanctuary for self-discovery. The space he created allowed him to reconnect with himself, stripping away societal expectations and uncovering his true identity. It wasn't an easy process, and it didn't happen overnight, but slowly he began to feel a sense of clarity and peace he hadn't felt in years. We all have a similar potential for growth when we live alone. The distractions fade, and we gain the chance to explore new interests or revive old ones. You might pick up a book you've always wanted to read, learn to cook a new dish, or simply sit in stillness, listening to the rhythm of your own breath. Each small action becomes a form of self-care and a step toward rediscovering what truly matters to you. You see, living alone forces us to confront our own thoughts and emotions. It's easy to avoid self-reflection when we're constantly surrounded by others, but in solitude, we can no longer escape our own company. We start to notice the subtle patterns in our thinking, the ways we react to certain situations, and even the negative beliefs that have held us back. This awareness is the seed of personal growth. It's from this place of honesty that we can begin to make meaningful changes in our lives. We're not suggesting that this journey is without challenges. Personal growth is often uncomfortable. It requires us to sit with our discomfort, to face regrets, and to admit our fears. But it's in this discomfort that we find our strength. It's through the process of facing our own inner world that we can start to redefine who we are and what we want from life. The man who emerges from this process is often wiser, more compassionate, and more in tune with his true self. And it's not just about self-discovery, it's about learning to be content with your own company. When we learn to enjoy our solitude, we become less dependent on others for our happiness. We develop a sense of self-worth that isn't tied to external validation. This is incredibly empowering. It means that you can walk through life with confidence, knowing that you are complete in yourself. The beauty of living alone is that it allows you to be your own companion. You learn to appreciate the quiet moments, to find joy in the simple things, and to listen to your own needs. You start to see that personal growth is not a destination but an ongoing journey. Every day presents a new opportunity to learn something about yourself, to challenge your beliefs, and to become the person you were meant to be. The next one will tell it to you is about control over your environment. This idea might seem simple at first, but when we really dig into it, we'll find how significant it becomes for those living on their own. You see, living alone isn't just about having a space to yourself. It's about shaping that space to reflect your tastes, habits, and even the things you're still discovering about yourself. It's like holding the paintbrush to a blank canvas, ready to create a setting that not only looks the way you want, but feels just right for you. Picture this. You walk through the door after a long day, and every inch of your home radiates a sense of familiarity. The lighting is set just the way you prefer it. The furniture is arranged to your liking, and the air smells faintly of your favorite candle. These are choices you made for yourself, and they add up to create a sanctuary where you can unwind and recharge. When you have the freedom to control your surroundings, you get to express your personality and tastes without anyone else's input. This kind of freedom isn't just liberating, it's life-affirming. Just think about how your home's layout impacts your mood. Maybe you prefer an open, clutter-free space that allows you to move around with ease. Or perhaps you find comfort in the cozy chaos of books scattered on the table, a blanket draped over the armchair, and a collection of plants on the windowsill. It's all about how these little details make you feel. When we live with others, we often compromise, which isn't a bad thing, but it can mean giving up on the full expression of what makes us feel most comfortable. Living alone removes that need for negotiation. It's your space, your sanctuary, and you get to shape it in the way that serves you best. We had a conversation with our friend, Louisa, who had recently moved into her own apartment for the first time. At first, she was uncertain about how to arrange her living space. It took some trial and error, moving the sofa from one wall to another, rearranging her collection of art prints. But in the process, she discovered what truly made her feel at home. Now, her apartment is filled with elements that reflect who she is. There's a little reading nook by the window where she spends her mornings with a cup of tea, and her walls are adorned with pieces that tell the story of her travels. Louisa told us that every time she looks around her apartment, she feels a deep sense of pride because it represents her choices, her preferences, and ultimately, her journey to self-discovery. Control over your environment also means you decide the rhythm of your daily routines. Have you ever felt like leaving your shoes by the front door because it's just more practical for you? Or maybe you want your kitchen counters to be clear of clutter, with everything neatly stored in cupboards. The beauty of living alone is that you get to establish these habits based solely on what works best for you. No one else is there to question it or suggest another way. It's your domain, and this kind of autonomy can bring a sense of order and peace to your daily life. When you live alone, you have the freedom to set the mood in every room. You can choose soft, warm lighting that makes the space feel inviting, or you might opt for bright, energizing light that helps you stay focused and active. Music, too, becomes an element of your environment. You can fill your home with classical tunes in the morning, jazz in the afternoon, and soft, soothing melodies in the evening. It's these sensory choices that shape the ambiance of your living space and, in turn, your state of mind. And here's an interesting thing we've noticed. Controlling your environment extends beyond how it looks. It's also about how it feels and sounds. Maybe you prefer waking up to the scent of fresh coffee brewing in the kitchen, or you find comfort in the quiet hum of a fan at night. Perhaps you enjoy coming home to a space where the temperature is set exactly as you like it. These small details, which might seem insignificant to others, become important when you live alone because they add to the overall sense of comfort and belonging. It's not just a house, it's a home that reflects who you are. We remember another story, this time about Louis, a man who had always lived with roommates until his mid-30s. When he finally moved into his own place, he wasn't sure how to adjust. For years, he had been accommodating others' preferences, compromising on decor, noise levels, even the temperature of the rooms. But now, all those decisions were up to him. He discovered that he preferred a minimalist approach, with just a few pieces of furniture and plenty of open space. He found joy in creating a small meditation corner where he could start his mornings in peace. This space became a direct reflection of his needs and desires, something he hadn't been able to fully express before. What makes having control over your environment so powerful is the realization that your surroundings can directly impact your emotional well-being. A cluttered space can sometimes create a sense of chaos in your mind, while a well-organized room can bring clarity and calm. When you live alone, you have the opportunity to arrange your environment in a way that nurtures your mental health. It's about creating a setting that not only looks appealing, but also provides you with a sense of stability and control. After all, in a world where so much is beyond our grasp, it's comforting to know that within your own space, you hold the reins. And how about the flexibility that comes with this kind of control? Living alone means you can wake up one day and decide that it's time for a change. Perhaps you want to move the furniture around, swap out the artwork on the walls, or even repaint an entire room. There's no need to justify your decisions to anyone else. You simply follow your intuition and go with what feels right for you in that moment. This freedom to change your environment whenever you please adds an element of spontaneity and creativity to your life, making each day a little more interesting. We've also seen how control over your environment can lead to the discovery of new passions. Take, for example, Victor, who never considered himself much of a decorator. Yet, after living alone for a few months, he found himself experimenting with different interior styles, arranging plants, and curating a collection of art that resonated with him. His home slowly transformed into a reflection of his evolving tastes, and this journey of shaping his space became a hobby that brought him joy and satisfaction. It's fascinating how having control over your surroundings can open the door to new interests and activities. Some days, you might be inclined to leave things as they are, allowing a bit of clutter to accumulate because it feels more lived in and comfortable. On other days, you might be inspired to clean and organize, setting everything back in its place. Living alone gives you the liberty to let your space mirror your current state of mind. Whether it's a little chaotic or perfectly tidy, there's no pressure to keep up appearances for anyone else. And this honesty with yourself is a form of self-care. Your environment can also serve as a canvas for your memories and experiences. Perhaps you choose to decorate your space with items that remind you of travels, accomplishments, or moments of personal growth. Each object, each piece of decor tells a story. And in living alone, you get to decide which stories you want your space to reflect. It's like building a personal museum where every corner holds a piece of your journey. Controlling your environment is about creating a space that not only looks like you, but feels like you. It's about crafting a setting that provides comfort, inspires creativity, and brings you a sense of peace. When you walk through your home, it should be like walking through an extension of your personality. A place that offers refuge and familiarity amidst the chaos of the outside world. This is the kind of empowerment that comes from living alone, and it's something truly worth appreciating. Let's take a moment to reflect on what it truly means to live alone as an older man. It's not just about solitude. It's about stepping into a lifestyle that grants us the peace, freedom, and personal growth we may have been seeking all along. This choice can open up a world where we get to rediscover who we are, away from the noise and distractions of everyday life. It's a chance to pursue passions that may have been put on hold, to explore new hobbies, or simply to enjoy the quiet moments that bring clarity and contentment. Now think about the possibilities. Whether it's the tranquility of having a space all to ourselves, the financial independence that allows us to live on our own terms, or the profound opportunity to grow and reflect, living alone can be one of the most fulfilling decisions we ever make. It's an empowering step that allows us to shape our days, follow our rhythms, and build a life that feels authentically ours. If you're considering this path, remember that many have walked it before and found it to be a deeply rewarding journey. You are not alone in contemplating this change. Taking the leap could be the key to unlocking one of the most meaningful and enriching chapters of your life. And if you're already living this experience, we invite you to share your thoughts and stories in the comments. Your insights could inspire others who are on the fence. Before we wrap up, if this discussion resonated with you, consider liking and subscribing to stay connected with more content that speaks to these life choices. Thank you for being with us today.